As the paper slowly emerged from the printer, I heard the sound of the front door lock turning. It was 4 in the morning. Sarah was finally home. She pushed open the study door, reeking of alcohol and an unfamiliar perfume. Seeing me at the computer, she frowned. "Why are you still awake?" My eyes fell to her neck, where a fresh love bite was partially hidden by her collar. Perhaps she noticed where I was looking because she tugged uncomfortably at her collar. "Happy anniversary," I said calmly, sliding the divorce papers across the desk toward her. Sarah's expression shifted from exhaustion to shock, and then to fury. She snatched the papers, flipped through a couple of pages, and scoffed. "Daniel, are you insane? You want a divorce just because I was too busy with work to celebrate our anniversary?" "It's not about that," I said, opening my phone and showing her the picture of Leo wearing the belt. The color drained from Sarah's face for a second, but she quickly composed herself. "You've been spying on me?" Her tone was more accusatory than apologetic. "Sarah," I said, rubbing my temples wearily, "I've known about you and Leo for a while. I just didn't realize you were having a baby. It was an accident." Sarah raised her voice. "We were both drunk, and it only happened that one time." Perhaps feeling that wasn't convincing enough, she pressed on with self-righteous indignation. "Haven't you always wanted a child? You can't seem to have one, so now you've got one ready-made. You should just accept me and the baby." I laughed coldly. "I guess it's true that you laugh when you're utterly speechless." I turned the monitor toward her, where the hotel receipts and chat logs were displayed. 1 year and 4 months. At least 27 hotel stays. Does that count as only one time? And what's wrong with me? If you didn't come home exhausted every single night, do you think we wouldn't have a child by now? Sarah, who is really the problem here?" Sarah's lips trembled, and for a fleeting moment, I saw a flicker of panic in her eyes I'd never seen before. But just as quickly, the invincible trial attorney was back. "Fine. You want a divorce?" she said, tilting her chin up. "Don't forget, the apartment and the car are in my name. Most of your salary went to paying down the mortgage. If you leave, are you prepared to walk away with nothing?" This was her go-to move, using her financial power to crush me whenever she was losing an argument. For the past 7 years, it had worked every single time. But tonight was different. "I don't want any of it," I said, closing my laptop and standing up. "I just want to be free." Sarah was stunned, clearly not expecting that answer. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. I walked past her into the bedroom and started packing a suitcase. Sarah followed me and stood in the doorway, watching me throw clothes into the bag. "Daniel," her voice suddenly softened, "we can talk about this. Leo is just an intern. It meant nothing." "Nothing." I paused and pulled an ultrasound photo from the back of a drawer. "Then what's this?" 8 weeks. That lines up perfectly with your business trip to Austin." The color completely drained from Sarah's face. She lunged for it, but I moved it out of her reach. "Where did you get that?" she shrieked. "Leo didn't just post the prenatal report in the group chat today. He also posted this." I guess he couldn't wait to stake his claim. I was surprised by how calm my own voice sounded. Sarah's phone suddenly rang. She glanced at the screen, then instinctively turned and walked into the living room, lowering her voice. "Leo, I told you not to call." "I know, but he already found out." I closed the bedroom door, pretending I hadn't heard anything, and continued packing. 10 minutes later, when I dragged my suitcase out of the room, Sarah was gone from the living room. I could hear the shower running. She was probably washing up, using it as an excuse to avoid conflict, just like she always did. I left my keys on the coffee table and quietly closed the door behind me. As the elevator descended, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Mark. "Forgot to mention, the company has a corporate apartment. It's yours if you need it." I texted back, "I'll be there in the morning." As I walked out of the apartment building, the first light of dawn was breaking. I opened my phone and scrolled through Facebook. The newest post was from Leo. It was a selfie of him and Sarah, their cheeks pressed together, with the caption, "Finally." The location tag was the Ritz-Carlton. I locked my screen and hailed a cab. Outside the window, the city was just beginning to wake up, and my marriage was finally completely dead. Mark's startup was located in a gleaming new office building in a tech park. At 8 in the morning, I stood in front of the glass doors with my suitcase, catching a glimpse of my own haggard face in the reflection. "Daniel," Mark burst out from inside and threw his arms around me. "Thank God, you finally came to your senses." He took my suitcase and gave me a tour of the office. It was a bright, spacious, open-plan workspace. The walls were covered in whiteboard paint, scrawled with code snippets and mathematical formulas, and a dozen young, focused faces were glued to their monitors. "This is our core team," Mark said proudly. Average age is 26, all top graduates from the best schools. But what we're missing is a seasoned expert like you. Get settled in. We have a project meeting at 2, which will be a good chance for you to get up to speed on our product. Mark clapped me on the shoulder, then hesitated. Everything okay with Sarah? We're getting a divorce, I said calmly. Mark's eyes went wide. Holy crap, when did that happen? I thought you two were. Yesterday, I cut him off. I'll tell you the details later. Right now, I just want to focus on work. Mark wisely dropped the subject and just nodded. Anything you need, you let me know. After he left, I sat down in my new chair and turned on my phone. 17 missed calls, all from Sarah. There were also a few texts. Daniel, answer your phone. Are you being a child? What is running away going to solve? I can explain about Leo, but you have to come home first. A letter from my lawyer will be at your office tomorrow. Don't force me to take legal action. The last message had been sent 10 minutes ago. I just smiled and turned my phone off. The meetings at the new company lasted until 8 that night. When I finally got back to the corporate apartment, I saw I had a few more texts. This time, they weren't from Sarah, but from an unknown number. This is Daniel, right? It's Leo. Sarah is really upset. Giving her the silent treatment like this is a really classless move. A real man would be more forgiving. She just made a mistake anyone could make. By the way, I heard you quit your job. You're not trying to dodge child support, are you? Sarah said you'll be paying every penny you owe once the baby is born. What, you scared? Can't even text back. I stared at the screen and found myself laughing. This was the person Sarah had chosen? A punk kid who could do nothing but send taunting text messages? I took a screenshot, saved all the messages, and then replied. Please inform Sarah that I have signed the divorce papers and am ready to finalize things at the courthouse whenever she is. As for any other matters, please have her contact my lawyer. After sending the text, I immediately blocked the number. I was about to get in the shower when my phone rang again. This time, it was Jessica Davis, one of Sarah's colleagues. Daniel, are you okay? Jessica's voice was filled with concern. Sarah was on a rampage today. She chewed out the entire office. And that Leo kid has been bragging to everyone that he's about to be married to a firm partner. I tightened my grip on the phone. Jessica, thanks for checking in. Sarah and I are finished. I knew it. I always had a bad feeling about that kid, Jessica said, lowering her voice. Last month, I personally saw him snooping through Sarah's client files. I warned her, but she brushed it off. You should be careful. That kid is ambitious. After we hung up, I opened my laptop and logged into a coding profile I hadn't touched in years. During my 7-year marriage, I had become little more than Sarah's accessory. Even my passion for technology had been reduced to just a job, not a calling. The list of my personal projects stopped abruptly in 2016, the year we were married. An email notification popped up in the corner of my screen. It was the official confirmation of my resignation from my old company's HR. Sarah was copied on the email. I had completely forgotten that she had set up my account to automatically forward all my emails to her work address. At almost the exact same moment, my phone rang again. It was Sarah. Daniel. Her voice was shrill with rage. When did you quit your job? Why didn't you tell me? Last week, I said calmly. Just like how you told me you were working late last week when you were actually getting a prenatal exam. The other end of the line went silent for a few seconds. Ew, how did you know it was last week? Her aggressive tone suddenly faltered. It doesn't matter. What matters is that we're over, Sarah. You have the right to choose the life you want, and I have the right to leave a marriage built on lies. What are you talking about? Sarah's voice rose again. I admit I was wrong about Leo, but what do you expect when you spend all your time puttering around the kitchen with zero ambition? Look at Mark Peterson. He studied computer science just like you, and now he's a CEO. I closed my eyes, letting her accusations cut into me like knives. None of this was new. For the past 3 years, every argument we had eventually came back to the same theme. I wasn't successful enough, not brilliant enough, and not worthy of the great Sarah Hayes, Esquire. Are you done? I asked quietly when she finally paused for breath. If there's nothing else, I need to get some sleep. I have work in the morning. Work, she scoffed. At Mark's little shoestring startup? Daniel, you're such a disappointment. You threw away a high-paying corporate job to take a gamble on a company like that. What are you even thinking? My dignity. I answered, and then I hung up the phone. The next morning, I was jolted awake by a knock on the door. Mark was standing outside with a strange look on his face. Daniel, there's a package for you. It's cash on delivery. It was a cardboard box containing all of the personal items I had left at Sarah's apartment. Inside were a few old clothes, my programming award from college, and our wedding album. On top of everything was a sticky note with Sarah's sharp handwriting. As you wish. I picked up the photo album and flipped to the last few pages. They were all blank. The pages that should have been filled with photos from our life together were completely empty. Do you need a hand with that? Mark asked, his voice full of concern. No, I'm good, I said, placing the album back in the box. This just saves me a trip. Over lunch, Mark told me that Sarah had just called him. I paused, my fork halfway to my mouth. What did she want? She was asking about you. Asking if the company was stable, whether you had a non-compete agreement, that sort of thing. She sounded like a parole officer worried her ex-husband was going to starve. I shook my head. Just ignore her. Sarah hates nothing more than losing control. I'm getting that, Mark said around a mouthful of chicken. But seriously, Daniel, are you really going through with this? It's been 7 years. Just as I was about to answer, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Jessica. Urgent. Leo just posted screenshots in the firm's group chat of you having a flirty conversation with some woman. Sarah completely lost it. What's going on? I frowned and opened the screenshots Jessica had sent. They showed an explicit conversation between a female account named Sweet Strawberry and an account with my profile picture. The timestamps were all from the past week. The problem was, I had no idea who this person was, and the chat logs were obviously fake. It's all fake, I texted back to Jessica. You can check the IP addresses and timestamps. I haven't even logged into Instagram all week. Jessica replied almost instantly. I knew it. That kid is so manipulative. Sarah is furious right now. She's probably not going to listen to reason. I put my phone down, suddenly feeling exhausted. This was the woman I had once given everything to love. She would rather trust an intern she'd known for less than 2 years than give her husband of 7 years even the most basic benefit of the doubt. What's wrong? Mark asked, concerned. I pushed my phone across the table to him. His eyes widened. Wow, that is the most pathetic frame job I've ever seen. Do you need me to get it analyzed? I know some guys who do digital forensics. No need, I said, taking my phone back. Sarah's a lawyer. If she can't see through a forgery this clumsy, she has no business practicing law. That afternoon, I was debugging some code when Sarah called again. This time, her voice was ice cold. Daniel, I never thought you were this kind of person. We're not even divorced yet, and you're already messing around with other women. Those chat logs are fake, I said calmly. You know I never use Instagram. Oh, really? The evidence is right there, and you're still trying to deny it? She sneered. That woman called you Danny Boy. Sounds pretty intimate. About as intimate as Leo calling you Sarah, I suppose? I shot back. Sarah, use your legal training for 1 second. The screenshots don't show the full interface. There's no continuous timeline, and the profile picture is clearly just a crop from my Facebook. A forgery this bad wouldn't even be admissible as evidence in one of your cases. The line was silent for a few seconds. I'll look into it, she said, her voice less certain now. But if it's real, Daniel, you just wait. Whatever you want, I said, and hung up to get back to my code. But my fingers hovered over the keyboard for a long time, and I couldn't type a single word. Just before the end of the day, another message came from Jessica. Sarah checked the logs. She knows they were fake. Leo cried and told her he was just testing her to see if she really loved you. And she actually believed him. The woman is a shark in the courtroom. How could she be so clueless about this? I didn't reply. I just put my phone on silent and tossed it in a drawer. Outside, the setting sun painted the glass walls of the tech park in shades of orange. 7 years ago, at this exact time, Sarah would have been texting me. What do you want for dinner tonight? 5 years ago, that changed to working late, don't wait up. For the last 3 years, there was often no message at all. Now, finally, I didn't have to wait anymore. After the incident with the faked affair, I mailed the divorce papers directly to her law firm with a sticky note attached. Courthouse. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. I blocked Sarah on everything. It wasn't because I was afraid I'd change my mind, but because I wanted to ensure that if she really wanted to see me, she would have to show up. Sure enough, the next morning, she was there. But when the perpetually proud and composed Sarah looked at me, her eyes were glistening with tears. Daniel, can we please not do this? Can we not get a divorce? I frowned. It had only been a week. How could the person who threatened to leave me with nothing and who accused me of cheating suddenly change her tune? Before I could even ask, Sarah explained. A lot of my clients have been poached, and several of the firm's encrypted case files have been leaked. I checked the security footage. It was... Sarah's lips tightened, as if the words were difficult to say. I scoffed. It was Leo, wasn't it? Sarah paused, then nodded. Jessica had warned me about this. telling me to caution Sarah about him. It went all the way back to when Leo first joined the firm. I'm old enough to have learned how to read people, and a guy like Leo, with that hungry look in his eyes, wore his ambition on his sleeve. I'd even tried to bring it up with Sarah back then, but she had just been sarcastic. Are you really that jealous? Or are you just getting old and envious of the younger generation? Can you stop being so paranoid? After her sneer, I swallowed the mountain of arguments I had prepared to make. So now, hearing that Leo had poached clients and leaked firm secrets didn't surprise me at all. In other words, wasn't Sarah also responsible? Four-star attorney, the face of her firm, to have an affair and get pregnant was a complete joke. But then I noticed her flat stomach, and I could guess what had happened. The baby. Sarah had gotten rid of it. I smiled, completely unfazed. So what? Sarah looked at me, her eyes red. Daniel, it was my fault. I misjudged him, and I'm so sorry. The firm fired me. I've been blacklisted by the legal community, and now Leo is gone. If you divorce me, I'll have absolutely nothing left. I looked at the once invincible woman before me, and the panic and helplessness in her eyes were completely foreign to me. My voice was perfectly calm. Sarah, what happened with Leo has nothing to do with me. As for the divorce, there's no going back. I saw her knuckles turn white as she gripped the strap of her purse. Daniel, can you really be this cruel? Are you trying to throw away 7 years together? You're the one who threw it away, I said, glancing impatiently at my watch. The courthouse is open. Let's go. The divorce proceedings went surprisingly smoothly. Sarah was silent the entire time, though her hand trembled violently when it was time to sign the final papers. When we walked out of the courthouse, the sunlight was so bright I had to squint. Suddenly, Sarah grabbed my wrist. Can you give me one more chance? For old time's sake. I gently pulled my hand away. Sarah, do you know how I knew those chat logs from Leo were fake so quickly? Sarah shook her head, looking lost. Because for the last 7 years, I replied to every single one of your messages instantly. I knew your entire schedule by heart. And you don't even know which social media apps I use. The color drained from Sarah's face. Don't bother explaining. I cut her off. I wish you all the best. As I turned to walk away, I heard her choke out the words behind me. Daniel, don't I deserve a second chance? I got rid of the baby. I want to have a baby with you. Can't we do that? I was so wrong. Her voice grew quieter, choked with sobs. But I didn't look back. 3 months later, Mart's company had its IPO. As a co-founder and head of technology, my net worth skyrocketed. During the celebration party, I got a text from Jessica. Sarah's practicing again. She started over at a small firm. That Leo kid took the client files and fled the country. I heard he scammed her out a lot of money too. I'm not sure when it happened, but Jessica had become my primary source of news about Sarah and Leo, always keeping me in the loop. But now I just wasn't interested anymore. I replied, thanks for the update, and went back to my conversation with an investor. As the party was winding down, I saw Sarah standing by the hotel entrance. She was much thinner, dressed in a simple white blouse and black slacks. She no longer looked like the glamorous attorney, but more like the girl I knew back in college. Congratulations, she said, holding out a small gift box. I heard you were celebrating tonight. I didn't take it. Can I help you with something? My tone was polite but distant, as if we were strangers, not people who had once been married. Sarah's hand hung in the air for a moment before she slowly pulled it back. I just wanted to see you, she said with a forced smile. You look well. I am, I replied. An awkward silence stretched between us. Finally, Sarah took a deep breath. I was wrong, Daniel. I was so wrong. Her voice was barely a whisper. I shouldn't have used my career as an excuse to ignore you. And I never should have betrayed you. I remained silent. I know it's too late, she said, looking up, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. But I wanted you to know I didn't end the pregnancy because of my career. I ended it because it wasn't the result of love. The night wind blew her hair across her face, and for a moment, I remembered the girl who had stopped me outside the library all those years ago. Sarah, I finally said, if you came all this way just to feed me empty platitudes, you really didn't have to. We both need to move on. Sarah froze for a second, then gave a bitter smile. You're right. She took a step back. Goodbye, Daniel. Goodbye, Sarah. I watched her walk away, and the last knot of resentment in my heart finally dissolved. A year later, while I was at a tech conference in Silicon Valley, I received a wedding invitation from Jessica. She and her boyfriend of 8 years were finally getting married. In a handwritten note, she added, Sarah will be there too. She's a public interest lawyer now, fighting for underprivileged clients. I heard she turned down a proposal from some billionaire last month. Said she didn't deserve a good man. I smiled at my phone and texted back, wouldn't miss it for the world. On the day of the wedding, I saw Sarah from across the room. She was helping Jessica adjust her veil, a warm, peaceful smile on her face. When Sarah turned and saw me, she looked surprised for a moment, but then she gave me a calm nod. We were seated at the same table for the reception. She sat across from me, and we made polite, distant small talk about work and our current lives. During the toast, Jessica suddenly handed me the microphone. As a dear friend to both of us, Daniel, would you like to say a few words? With everyone watching, I got on my feet. I wish you both a lifetime of happiness, I said, raising my glass. Marriage is like a piece of software. It requires constant debugging and maintenance. But as long as you're both working toward the same goal, you can fix any bug, no matter how difficult. As the room applauded, I noticed Sarah's eyes were red. After the reception, I stepped out into the hotel garden for a cigarette. At some point, Sarah came and stood behind me. I thought you quit, she said. Just one now and then, I replied, putting out the cigarette. I hear you're doing well. I am, she said, looking out at the distant lights. Helping people who can't afford to defend themselves is a lot more meaningful than being a corporate lawyer. I nodded. Daniel, she said suddenly. I looked up and met her earnest gaze. If you could do it all over again, what would you do differently? I thought about it for a moment. I probably would have told you how much it bothered me the very first time you bailed on our plans. Sarah smiled, her eyes glistening, and I would have apologized and then canceled everything to be with you. I thought I hated her, but I was surprised that we could sit here face to face and calmly talk about what might have been. A gentle breeze drifted by, carrying the faint scent of flowers. We stood in silence for a moment longer before Sarah spoke softly. I should get going. Take care. You too. I watched her walk away and suddenly understood that some loves are like fireworks. They burn brilliantly for a moment, and then they're gone. All you can do is find yourself in the ashes and keep moving forward. I didn't notice Jessica walk up beside me until she spoke, making me jump. She had been standing there quietly. You know, Sarah isn't just doing pro bono work. She's also spent all these years looking for Leo. I had almost forgotten his name. I turned to her in surprise. Jessica just shrugged. Of course, it's not because she's still hung up on him. You know her personality. She would never let someone who betrayed her get away with it. Just last month, she pulled a lot of strings and finally found him. She's the one who put him behind bars. I didn't react much to the news, other than a small, calm smile. This whole tragedy could have been avoided. Daniel, Sarah really knows she was wrong. Why don't you give her another chance? Jessica's tone shifted from suggestion to pleading. I'd heard that sentiment a lot over the years. People make mistakes. Everyone deserves a second chance. Things like that, as if turning back could simply erase the past. But I couldn't do it. People seem to forget that adults know the difference between right and wrong. Sarah knew what she was doing was wrong, but she did it anyway. That was her choice. She was the one who chose to push me away. I could run into Sarah, say hello, even smile and reminisce about old times. But getting back together? That was never going to happen. Not in this lifetime. I didn't invite her, you know. She heard you were coming and took an overnight flight just to be here. Daniel, stop, I said, cutting her off. I don't need to hear these self-indulgent dramas anymore. If you're my friend, please don't bring this up again. With that, I turned and walked away, hearing Jessica sigh behind me. As I left the garden, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Mark. Are you handling the New York project yourself next week? I texted back, of course. I looked up at the star-filled night sky. Tomorrow was a new day,